All right, we're going to continue with our unit on congruency. And what we're going to focus on today is a specific situation where we have overlapping triangles. So we're still going to use the same triangle shortcuts that we've developed. All right, side, 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 angle, side, angle, side, angle, side, angle, angle, side, HL if we have a right triangle. All right, but the issue is that now we have these triangles that overlap. And so one of the things that's going to really help you is this idea of breaking those into two separate pictures. All right, so when you look at our lesson 4 here for Unit 7, Overlapping Triangles, we're on page 70, all right, and standard 16.3. I can show triangles where their corresponding parts are congruent in situations with overlapping triangles. All right, so to kind of get you going here, what I want you to do, all right, is do the opener here. So we have some overlapping triangles, and I want you to just go ahead and do the opener, flip it back on, video back on, and we'll see how you do. All right, so you can see that I redrew these triangles, hopefully just like you did. And when you redraw them, you want to try to keep the same orientation and definitely carry over all right, of your labels, whether those are the letters for the vertices, whether those are markings for congruent pieces. All right, and so notice now when we look at what you've drawn, all right, so we want to then look for, all right, anything else that's shared between the two triangles. All right, so when I look, all right, and the letters will help you. So notice what letters are common to both triangles. All right, and that's angles D, or excuse me, that's letters D and C here. All right, now, so what we know for sure then is that they share side DC. And once again, if they share something, right, that's an automatic congruent statement. So notice they share sides, segment DC. All right, now, shared angles. Now, they have to be the exact same angles in the triangles. And so notice D is in this triangle and D is in this triangle, but they're not the same angles because this is angle ADC and this is angle BDC. And the same for angle C here. And you can see that they look different, right? They look like they have different sizes and different measures, okay? So in this case, we don't have any shared angles. But then notice once I've separated these two triangles and I look at this information, notice I can then say that these two triangles are congruent because now I have angle, angle, side. All right, angle, angle, side. Now, maybe you would have been able to see that if you'd marked DC here, but notice it kind of gets a little overwhelming when we have those overlapping triangles together in one picture. So that's really what we want you to do is take the time, redraw them, all right, and then see, all right, what information you have. Okay, so let's look at some notes here. Let me adjust my cameras and everything, all right, on identifying our triangles. So now, notice, right, we could have more than one pair of overlapping triangles, right? So if I look at our first set here, all right, so using the figure below and a colored pencil or highlighters, whatever you might have, mark up to 2 potentially congruent overlapping triangles. And there's more than one correct answer here. So I'll let you guys once again pause the video, see if you can do that, flip it back on, and we'll go through this together. All right, so I'm going to use highlighters. So one of the things I saw in this first triangle is that this triangle right here, right, possibly could be congruent to this triangle right here, right? So they overlap. All right. You could have also maybe had like one of the smaller triangles, so maybe like this green guy here and this green guy here, right? Okay, so definitely could have some different overlapping triangles. All right, when I move to the second triangle here, so I could have maybe this guy, right, and then this guy, right? So those two triangles there. And in a very similar fashion, maybe you went with the bottom triangles here. So this, I can go with the yellow ones down here, right? And so once again, that's really, when you're trying to find things that are congruent, it's really easy to kind of get overwhelmed when you have all this here. All right, so think about trying to find the triangles that you're trying to either prove congruent or pieces of the triangles that you're trying to show are congruent, right? And if I go here, right, so very similar, maybe we have this, right, this triangle here, right? And maybe we have this triangle here, all right? So I think you guys are kind of hopefully getting the idea, right, that we have these triangles, they can overlap, right? It can be overwhelming. So once again, we want to try to kind of dissect them as much as possible, pull them apart. All right, so when asking to identify congruent parts in overlapping triangles, all right, it's easiest first to draw the triangles, all right, separately. Let me see, separately, all right? And then what we want to do is we want to look for those shared sides and angles, right? Okay, and that will help us move along, all right, in our congruency statements. All right, so let's flip over to page 71, and let's look at an example together. All right, so it says R triangle SMQ and triangle PMN congruent. So SMQ, all right, would be this triangle, all right, and then PMN would be this triangle. So I'm going to, all right, go ahead and just try to draw those separately right here. So here is, and then notice it kind of gets rid of all this other extra stuff here. Here's SMQ, all right, and then we have MNP or PMN in the, all right, there we go, like that, all right. So, and once again, if you need to pause the video, all right, to draw stuff, go ahead and do that, all right, and then we can flip it back on and see. All right, so now that's what we have. Now notice, in our picture, we don't have anything marked. There's no tick marks, there's no angle marks, right? So, so we have to just look for those common pieces now, right? So if I look, notice they both share angle M, and I can see angle M here, right? Okay, and so I can see it's SMP, right, or SMQ, and PMN or PMS, that's the same angle. So I know for sure they share this angle. But notice there's nothing else. There's no other shared pieces, right, in both triangles. There's no other marking. So right now I'm going to have to say no, right? There's not really a way to show that those two triangles are congruent, right? All right, so let's go through one more together. So let's look at problem 2 here. All right, so prove that E is the midpoint of AC and DB. All right, so to do that, all right, okay, oh no, we're given E is the midpoint of AC and AB. All right, and we want to find which triangles are congruent. Okay, so now, if E is the midpoint of AC, that means that AE and EC have to be congruent. If E is the midpoint of DB, means those two guys have to be congruent. All right, so now when I start looking at triangles, all right, and I start looking at what we have, right, I can see, all right, that, and these really aren't overlapping triangles, right, so I can kind of ignore here, but if I look at this whole angle here, right, and I look at this whole angle here, all right, okay, all right, I can see that I have vertical angles. So I can see that this big triangle here and this big triangle here will be, and I'm going to say that triangle AED would be congruent to triangle. So AED would correspond to CEB, right? And we would go by side angle side. So in this case, the triangles don't really overlap, but we have a lot of overlapping triangles maybe to distract you as well. So, and once again, you could have drawn these without GE and EJ in there, all right, to kind of help guide you, all right, and maybe that would have been easier. All right, so that's kind of the feel for overlapping triangles. All right, I'm going to let you guys finish up with the rest of this lesson, and I'll see you next time.